Hi, everyone. I'm Dean Baas, Sustainable Ag Educator for Michigan State University Extension. I'm also the Sustainable Ag Research and Education SARE Program State Coordinator for Michigan, a grant program from the USDA. Today, I'm going to take some time to talk to you about grant writing. I'm going to talk about general grant information, where to find grants, some grant writing tips, and then some specifics about the SARE program that I'm the state coordinator for, with some general information and a couple of grant programs that you might be interested that SARE offers, and then also some SARE grant writing tips. Before I get started, I hope to share with you some of the realities of grant writing. I've done a lot of grant writing, and it takes a lot of time and effort. So hopefully with the tips I give you, it will increase your odds of getting a grant and also keep you from putting time into a grant that you may not be able to get. So let's get started. First of all, contrary to popular belief, most, if not all, funders do not give you money to spend on whatever you want or need. Grant programs have specific reasons for distributing the money. A lot of times with government funds, that's often dictated by law. It's written into legislation what they can give money for. And in a lot of cases, even with private funds, they have a mission statement or bylaws that say they will give money for specific causes for specific reasons. The people who are administering these grants are bound by these constraints, and they cannot change them for you. No matter how good your idea is, if it doesn't fit their constraints for them giving money out, they are not going to be able to give you that money. So make sure what you want money for is something they give money for. If you apply for money that you don't really qualify for, you're not going to have a chance at getting it. As an example, this is one of the Michigan Department of Ag and Rural Development grants called the Michigan Specialty Crop Block Grant. And if you read right there in their overview, it says that the funds are for specialty crops. And it lists specialty crops as fruits and vegetables, tree fruits, dried nuts, horticulture, and nursery crops, including floriculture. If you're looking at a crop outside of those categories, you would not qualify for this grant. So you should not be applying for it. Here's an example from the SARE program, which I'm a part of. And note in here that it says that these funds are not for everyday farming expenses. The funds are for innovative, sustainable agriculture, research, demonstration, education projects. So if you're just looking for funds to support your operation, these types of grants aren't going to necessarily, well, they would not be the type of grants you should be applying for. Next, not everyone qualifies for every grant program. Grant programs may have targeted audiences that can meet their objectives, and some grant programs will only fund in certain geographic or demographic areas. Make sure you qualify to receive the money you are applying for. Here's another example from MDARD of that. This one has eligible counties. It has to be rural counties with populations of 70,000 or less. And so if you're not applying for the money from within a county that qualifies, and here's a map, the red counties are the ones that are eligible. The dark red is even a priority county. Again, you should not be applying for the grant because you just cannot receive the money because you're not in the proper location. Next thing to consider is that most grant programs don't just send you a check. Some grant programs require you to spend your own money. Then you get reimbursed for allowable project expenses. In addition, most grant programs require some sort of reporting, which may be tied to getting some or all of your funding. Investigate how you'll receive your funds before applying. If you do not have the money available to support the project while you're waiting to get reimbursed, then that is going to be a problem. In a lot of cases, there's programs where they may give you, say, half the money up front, and then after you write your first project report, you'll get the rest of the money. There's all sorts of ways that they can tie funding to objectives that they have. And so make sure you check into that, how you would receive the funds before you apply. And then also there may be tax liabilities that result from receiving a grant. So you may want to talk to a tax consultant if you have questions to find out if you're going to end up incurring a tax liability by receiving grant funds. So we're going to move on to where do you find all of this information I just talked about. And that information is all available in what we call a request or a call for proposals. You hear them referred to as RFPs or CFPs. And this is an example of the SARE Farmer Rancher program grant proposal or call for proposals. And all that information that I talked about is in there. And so what you need to do is read the RFP thoroughly to make sure, first of all, that you qualify, how you're going to receive the grants, what reporting requirements there's going to be. And don't guess. If you don't quite understand some of these things, call the contact if you have questions. In this case, Joan Benjamin is a contact for the Farmer Rancher Grant Program, and she's available to answer any of your questions. And I tell people, don't be afraid to call. It's their job to help you. So they're waiting there to help people who have questions about their programs. Other places to find grants is you can just do internet search. One valuable site that I found is with the National Sustainable Agriculture Coalition. They have a publication, it's a grassroots guide to farm bill programs and grants. There's a chart that gives you a quick guide to all the different programs that might be available there. This is an example of the chart that they have. But first of all, you can see there's a lot of different grant programs for all different categories. There's beginning and socially disadvantaged farmer grants, food safety grants, healthy food access, just a lot of different types of grant programs. So look through the ones that might have application for what you're trying to do. And then look at the chart. This chart basically gives you that information that I talked about. You can see the column all the way there on the right says who is available. Some are available for just organizations. Some are available to just farmers. Some are available to both. If you're a farmer, you shouldn't be applying for an organization grant and vice versa. So there's a lot of different programs that they have, and a lot of that basic information I was talking about is described as they describe those grants. Other websites can help you find grants. The Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, MDARD, they have grants listed on their site that they provide. The USDA, National Institute for Food and Agriculture, also has a page where you can search for grants. And then the grant program that I'm associated with is available at northcentralsare.org/grants. Now, one of the things I'll say is that it's not always obvious on their websites how to find their grant programs. I have gotten frustrated looking for grant programs, and sometimes you just have to go to their main site and type grant programs into their search box to get to the spot where you need to go. I don't know why they make it hard to find these, but they do. Another potential source for grants are private foundations. One example is the Organic Farming Research Foundation, OFRF. And you can see in the box there that the timeline for their grants. They have a every year grant cycle. Note that for their grants, a letter of intent, sometimes that's required by grant programs, that you tell them first what you're intending to apply for, and then they will let you know if you're going to be invited to apply for that. So you really have to read through the instructions carefully on these things and follow the process. Another source that I recommend to people is to look for local community foundations. A lot of times they're looking for local people to support with projects that have benefit to the local community. And sometimes you may be located next in an area that has a philanthropic foundation. One that comes to mind for me being down here near Battle Creek is the Kellogg Foundation. Those types of foundations are also looking to support local projects. But remember, again, that they have certain things that they fund. You need to qualify for the types of things that they like to fund. But they can be a good source of funding. Their programs aren't always widely advertised. They may not advertise them at all. So you may have to call them. So it doesn't hurt to give them a call and say, do you have a grant program? Here's what I'm looking at doing, and would I qualify for funding from your organization? So there's a wide variety of programs out there, different organizations, not only governmental, but private. So take a look around and see what might work for you. So you found a grant program, it's something you're interested in, but the RFP is closed. So what do you do next? Look at the closing date. Many grants are on an annual cycle. And so that grant program will more than likely come around again. So give yourself a reminder to check back 2 or 3 months before that date the next year. That's typically kind of the time frame that a lot of grant programs will issue their RFPs 2 or 3 months ahead of when the program actually closes. So make sure you follow back up if it's something you're really interested in. Many funders also have signups for email newsletters, updates, and notifications. If you sign up for their updates, they will send you an email when they decide to issue a new call for proposals. So go ahead and sign up and make sure you read their emails when they come through. So you found a grant program that meets your general information requirements, and now what do you do? What's next? Well, like I said, thoroughly read through the RFP. Then I usually say, then read it again, because sometimes it's hard to absorb everything on the first go around. Make sure that you qualify, like I said, for the money that they're looking to give out in their grant program. I also recommend that you read the organization's mission, goals, and objectives, and note their keywords and concepts, and be ready to use those if you're going to write a proposal. They like to hear that people are meeting their goals and their mission when they give money to them. So make sure you note those types of things. If you don't understand something, again, call or email the contact. It's their job to help you, and you want to go into it with a thorough understanding of all questions that you might have. Writing a grant proposal is a lot of work. It's worth the effort, but you don't want to put time and energy into something to later realize that you won't be considered because you missed or something, or you guessed at something. So make sure you understand up front what they're looking for. Next thing is to follow the directions. Many RFPs have things like page limits, section limits, font size, margin requirements, a description of what goes in a section. They do this intentionally. It forces you to be concise and not to ramble on. And violating any of these could lead to rejection of the proposal without being reviewed. A lot of times those types of parameters are reviewed by staff other than project reviewers. And if you don't meet their requirements, if you haven't followed their directions, they could reject your proposal without even looking at it. I hate to tell you, but you are not special. They can't make exceptions to the rules. They can't change the rules for you. Everyone has to follow the same rules. So read those things and follow the process. So you've made it through all of that. You've decided it's the grant for you. You understand what it's going to take. Now you're going to write the grant. Write clearly and concisely. Write logically. Don't jump around with your thoughts. Build the next thought, sentence, paragraph, or section on the previous one. Don't use acronyms, jargon, or technical terms without explaining them. The people who review grants, and I have been on grant review panels, they may not know as much, they will not know as much about your field as you do. So you cannot assume that they know what you're talking about when you use really technical terms or acronyms or jargons that are specific to the area that you are working in or applying for funds for. So be very explicit about what you're looking for, explain things well, and explain things logically. Don't make statements you can't back up with data or other references. If it is your opinion, say that. For example, say, I believe that such and such. That tells the reviewer that this is your opinion. Other than that, if you're going to say something, make sure you can back it up with an article or someone else's statement about it. You need to make sure that the information that you're presenting is solid and that there's consensus for that information out there. Don't use superlatives. That is a red flag to reviewers. My example here is, if you say this proposal will produce the very best method to do something, well, that's, how do you quantify that? What is very best? Who says it's going to be the very best? That just is overselling something. Instead, you can say something like, this proposal will produce a better method to do something. That is easily stated without throwing up a red flag. So don't oversell things, be logical, make sure that what you're saying makes sense and there's a flow to it. Reviewers are looking for proposals that are unbiasedly evaluate something, and that those proposals are realistic. So keep it realistic and keep it unbiased. Give them what they ask for. If you can't explain why, don't ignore something. If there's a section in the proposal where they ask for some specific information and you don't have that information, explain to them why you don't have that information. Don't lead them to believe that you're just ignoring what they're asking for. Give them the reason why. You want to convince them to fund your proposal. So present realistic, believable, and logical reasons why they should fund your proposals. Avoid sales pitches and hyperbole. Reviewers have a responsibility, and I've been in this position, to be objective and thorough. They know what they need to look for in proposals, and if they don't find them, or if they're uncomfortable with what you're saying, they really feel responsible to the organization that they're doing the reviewing for, and so they're going to review accordingly. So now you're done writing the proposal, have other people review it, including someone who might not be familiar with the topic that you're writing about. They can let you know if they don't understand something, if something doesn't seem quite right to them, and make sure you address their feedback. If they're confused or don't understand something, reviewers will probably have the same issues with it. So take their feedback and make adjustments accordingly to improve your proposal. Find and fix spelling and grammar mistakes with spell checker and the grammar programs available nowadays. That's pretty easy to do, and those types of things really stand out to reviewers. It shows that you may not have been paying attention to detail if you don't fix those types of easy things to fix. Don't push the deadline. They have a fixed deadline, and again, they're not going to make adjustments for you. So give yourself time to fix things. Don't push too close to the deadline, and re-review what you've written prior to submitting it. So now you're done writing. Submit on time. Build in time for problems with the submission process. A lot of these programs now are asking you to submit your proposals in their online computer system, which can have problems, or which you may have some problems or questions about. So give yourself time so that you can get through their submission process and give them a call if you run into any problems. Most organizations will not accept proposals after the submission deadline. That deadline is firm, so if you don't get it in by that deadline, they're not going to accept it after that deadline. And most importantly, congratulate yourself for successfully submitting a proposal. Like I said, it's hard work, and you really need to congratulate yourself when you've made it through that process. So there's some places where you can get some help with your proposal. There are organizations that offer free grant writing assistance. You can search for them on the internet. One example for ag type proposals is the Michael Fields Agricultural Institute out of Wisconsin. Their website is listed there. They have grant advising resources, and you can see in this first part of the description of their services that they are for the 12-state region, which includes Michigan, and they help in applying for grants, loans, cost share programs, all those types of things, and can help you with those types of proposals. If you need that type of help, take advantage of grant writing and financial assistance advising. So you've submitted and then you've been rejected. Don't take it personal. I have been in that position more times than I would like to admit. And it is really hard not to take it personal. You've just put a lot of time and energy into a proposal that you believe is good. And when your proposal is not accepted, it can be a little bit hard to take, but don't take it personal. You have to realize they only have so much money to put into these programs, and there may have been other proposals that were better met their program objectives, were a better fit for what they were trying to do. And the other thing I'll point out in that regards is it just may be the year that you submitted. Those objectives can kind of change year to year and aren't necessarily listed in their proposal. So you may have a better chance in another year just because of how they're looking at where they want to put their emphasis in a specific year. A lot of them will give you comments back about your proposals, what they liked about it, what they might not have liked about it. If the comments are generally positive, I really recommend resubmitting during their next grant cycle. Address the negative comments in that next submission. Don't get discouraged. Now that you know the process, give it 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 more tries, and you have the basic skeleton of your proposal created. So resubmitting it to that organization with some changes would be relatively easy to do. And you also remember that you have a proposal developed that you could submit to another organization. Don't be afraid to take that same proposal and try another funder and see if you might have a chance there. I know people, particularly with the SARE program, that have applied numerous times, and it's taken twice or sometimes 3 times, but have got their proposals funded. So don't get discouraged. You know the process now, and go ahead and keep trying. That kind of wraps up my general grant writing tips. I'd like to spend a little bit of time talking about the North Central SARE Sustainable Agricultural Research and Education Program and their their grant program. The offices for North Central Region SARE are located at the University of Minnesota, and they also have staff at University of Missouri and Lincoln University in Missouri. SARE they have grants and outreach, and their goal and their mission is to advance sustainable innovations to the whole of American agriculture. It's kind of new and different. It was started back in 1988, and it was conceived to be a decentralized, science-based, grassroots, practical, problem-solving, and inclusive competitive grant making and outreach program. The SARE model is that successful SARE grantees are engaged in projects that are guided by 3 principles of sustainability. A lot of times we think of sustainability mostly as stewardship of our nation's land and water and the sustainability of those types of resources. But SARE is also interested in the sustainability of profit over the long term. It does no good to provide the sustainability of land and water if you're going to go out of business doing it. So profit is an important part of SARE, and also the quality of life for farmers, ranchers, and their communities. SARE includes stakeholder involvement in all their grant programs. They want problems that are identified by a farmer, rancher, and the researchers. And they want farmers and ranchers involved in the research and the outreach. They see the importance of basing their work on information from farmers as stakeholders in the process. SARE has a number of grant types. They range in size and complexity. There's the research and education program, which tends to be a very large grant program that is applicable to large organizations and universities. They have a professional development program that is also typically used by organizations and universities to develop ag professionals and their understanding of sustainable agriculture. They have a really nice graduate student program where they give money to graduate students to do smaller projects in sustainable agriculture. Then they have 2 programs. Next, the Farmer Rancher program, which is a program directly for farmers and ranchers to get money to do sustainable ag research and education, and also a youth educator grant where youth educators, folks that are teaching youth about agriculture and where our food comes from, where they can get money to do their projects as well. There is a last program there called the Partnership Program, which is a program for agricultural educators to get money in partnership with 3 to 5 farms to do a program and provide research or education which benefits sustainable agriculture. Those are initiated by the ag educator, so not something that farmers directly can apply for, but the farmer rancher grants and the youth educator grants definitely are ones that you may want to consider. To give you a little bit of idea how big these programs are, this was started in 1988, and through 2021, they've awarded almost $87 million. You can see the breakdown here, and the programs that I talked about, like the Farmer Rancher Grant, they're close to $11 million that they've awarded to farmers and ranchers to do research, and that is in 1,276 different projects. That's how many farmer rancher projects they have funded. The youth education grant did not start in 1988. It started much later. But so far they've had 161 projects in that category and close to $400,000. More specific information about the Farmer Rancher Grant Program. The grants go directly to fund farmers and ranchers to explore new production methods or marketing practices for their farms. You can apply for up to $15,000 as an individual farm, or if you get a team of 2 or more farmers, you can apply for up to $30,000. Now, when they say you need team of 2 or more farmers, that means that 2 or more farmers have to be working on the project together. It does not mean that you have to have it do the project on both farms. You can do the project on one farm, but have 2 farmers involved in the research and directing the project. Farmers are encouraged to link with university or nonprofit partners to be involved in the project. About 40 of these projects are funded per year, and there tends to be, probably a little less than 120 projects that are proposed. So about 30% of the projects that are proposed are funded. So it's a pretty good hit rate, and it's a really good program. Give you an idea of where Michigan stacks up in the Farmer Rancher Grant Program. Michigan has received over $1 million for 131 projects over that period from 1992 to 2021. We're up there in the top. We have some states that are more than us. And I like to see Michigan get as much money as possible from this program. So I really encourage people to consider it and apply for the Farmer Rancher Grant Program. Youth Educator Grants, those are grants for young people and educators, again, to look at sustainable practices and look at sustainable agriculture as a viable career option for kids. Educators can receive up to $6,000 per project. These are appropriate for BOAG teachers and other youth educators. About 10 projects per year are funded. And Joan Benjamin is the coordinator for that program, as well as the Farmer Rancher Grant Program. Again, looking at Michigan, we've done quite well in the youth educator grants. Actually, we have the most funding and the most projects, 24 projects, close to $50,000 that were funded in youth educator grants. So I hope you'll consider that program and keep Michigan at the top of the youth educator grant funding from SARE. The other thing I want to point out about SARE is that they have a lot of really good information on sustainable agriculture, a lot of books, a lot of publications. It's really a valuable resource. A lot of these came out of people who had projects and then created these types of publications. The books and bulletins are available in print if you'd like to order them. The books you have to pay for. But the nice thing about SARE is that everything that they publish, including their books, are available as a free download from their website. They have media outreach. They have a portfolio of in-depth reports on current topics. They have topic rooms for things like cover crops and local foods, where you can go and specifically find in-depth information and reports on those topics. They provide money to sponsor conferences. And this Michigan Family Farms Conference is getting some sponsorship from SARE. And then, like I said, they have a lot of online resources that you may want to take advantage of. If you'd like more information about SARE, this is the contact phone number and the email and the website. That's where you can go for SARE information. But on the other side, like I've been saying all along, you can contact me. I'm the SARE coordinator. And like I've said throughout the presentation, it's my job, just like it's the job of all the other contacts, to help you if you have questions about SARE or SARE grant writing programs. Appreciate your attention today. I hope I gave you some insight into grant writing to get you on your way to writing successful grant proposals and not putting time into things that you might not qualify for.